Good morning, guys. Okay, we're going to look at our US indexes. It is the 28th of April. As always, we will start on the E-mini S&P 500 and then we will move on to the E-mini Nasdaq. We'll have a quick recap of these markets from last week in relation to our Sunday analysis, and then we'll have a look at the markets for the week ahead in terms of day trading. So we're on the S&P 500 first of all. We've got our zones all set from last week. We've still got our lines and stuff on this chart. We will clear it up a little bit after we quickly run through what we were looking at. So coming into Monday, we had this level as potential resistance, looking for the move down into the zone below, which was also a bounce zone for the zone, or to bounce toward the zone up above. So here we go, bounce down, bounce right back up into the zone up above. Once we broke up above this zone, we were looking for the potential stronger bullish bounces up into 692. Let's get rid of this line so we can just see a little bit better, and we can see the market coming up above, spikes up, doesn't quite get to our 92 level, and then we start to crash down. So once again, coming through the zones, looking for the moves down, coming through the zone, looking for that move down. Then when we started to break this zone, we were looking for potentially that stronger move down toward 2600, but we had what we went over was a more minor level of potential support right here at 2612 to 2609, and we can see the market started to bounce from that level. Up above this zone, we're looking for the bullish bounces. Up above this zone, we're looking for the bullish bounces, and then the resistance. Yeah, so pretty good reactions to our zones from last week. What I'm going to do is just quickly pause the video, get rid of all these lines so we can clean it up a little bit, and then we will look at the market for the week ahead. Okay guys, so from last week what we went over was how we had broken up above the multiple swings here, and potentially on the way down we were looking at these areas as key support. Now what we've also done is when we rejected up at these levels toward 2715, if we put in a trend line now, what we can see is we have had the market rejecting once, rejecting twice, and then on this third sweep back up we have rejected once again. So first thing is we want to keep this on our radar moving forward. We can actually move it down just a little bit like this. So we're taking into account the swing, cutting through the swing right here from the 12th of March, and then the third swing on the 18th of April. Now on the Nasdaq, it's a little bit more pronounced. We've got a bit of a stronger squeeze or potential squeeze setting up, but we can also see it now on the S&P. The markets often, they often do mirror each other. Somewhat. So what we can see is if we come through, see the market testing at support, trying to break through, holding at the level, testing at support once again, breaking up and coming back down and testing. So potentially moving into next week now, we are relatively close to the end of somewhat of a squeeze. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Now, depending on how we're reacting next week, the first thing is our zones, so 2643 to 2636 roughly, good potential support if we're breaking down and testing, especially if it's lining up with our sloping support. Up above, resistance would likely be at the start of the week 2696 to 2692, especially if it's lining up with sloping resistance. And as we start to move through the week, potentially also 2681 to 2671, and it would likely still be this zone right here down below 2643 to 2636. And then what we're looking for is, first of all, the reactions from this area. And if we are continuing to follow the squeeze, we may get pretty compressed. It depends if/when the market is looking to break out. When we start to break out, what we've also got then is if we see the breakout, or if we see the breakout, this can be next week or further on, we could then look for the pullbacks and the market holding/testing at sloping support for continued bullish positions, If we break down, we'd be looking for the pullback. And a great way to look for the pullbacks is, if we're breaking out, looking at the zone down below for the potential, let's say, support here, the bounce back to test at the potential resistance, and then the bearish continuation. It doesn't mean the pattern needs to continue all the way up or all the way down, but as day traders, we can look for the initial reactions. We're looking to see what other traders are going to be looking at, where at least enough money flow is going to go to give us reactions, like this, spike up. The market is in a bearish movement here, but we're getting the spike up. We're day traders. We can buy here, capitalize on the move up, and then look for the move down. So really 1, 2, 3 and 4 zones are pretty key next week. 2696, 2692, 2681, 2671, all the way down at 2644 to 2636, and then 2620, really 28 to 2620. They're all lining up with this potential squeeze. And also moving forward, let's bring this in a little bit, this whole zone right here. So if we do see a breakout in the future, it could be a couple of days, a couple of weeks, if we then see the market pulling back to test at the point of what would then be the triangle, 2665 to 2653 is a great area to look for bounces or resistance. If the market is coming down onto it, support. If we break out and then come up to it, great resistance. Now, if we're breaking out also, the key zones, they still remain the same for us. This one down here is very key. 2600 to 2585. Yeah, it remains key support. If we're breaking down below, as we've gone over, it's likely we will then see the stronger moves down toward the previous lows on this market. Up above, really, key levels, we've still got a number of key levels up here. We've got quite a few swings. So what we would be looking at is we'd just be looking at our 2710, 2714, 2720 to 2730 levels, potential resistance on the way up. If we're starting to break up above this previous swing, certainly, it's then good to look for potential bullish bounces. Okay guys, so that's everything for this week for the S&P. Let's move on to the Nasdaq. Okay, so now we're moving on to the Nasdaq. So again, with this market, we've still got our levels marked up. Again, we had this level of potential support. We're kind of looking at this as a sort of pivot. You know, down below this level, the market was looking more bearish for the stronger moves down. Up above it, we could still look for those bullish bounces. So coming into the start of the week, we break down. We didn't quite reach into that level of support before we seen the bounce. And what did the market then do? Came up, rejected from our zone. We broke down, started breaking down below this area right here, all the way down to where we had the MA200 and our level of support. Broke down further, tested at our next zone. As we broke down below here, we were looking for that potential move all the way down to 6432 to 6398. We found support here and we have bounced pretty strongly all the way back up to this zone at 6801 to 6759. Actually coming into Friday when I was looking at this zone here, I actually had it just a little bit higher and the market didn't quite reach that level. So what I'm going to do, pause the video, take you through a couple of things on this market and then we'll look at these zones for the week ahead. Okay guys, so what I've done is I've actually taken off this trend line. Also, we're pretty far away from it at present. So coming into the end of last week, we had a pretty strong bullish bounce, but really I'm not as yet looking at it as very bullish for the Nasdaq. Basically what we're doing is we've came down, we've bounced off of the MA200 with a very strong bounce. We then came down, we've bounced again. We've put in a weaker bounce. Now we've came down and put in a third bounce, and potentially now this is turning into an even weaker third bounce. We've had a rejection, a rejection, and a rejection. So potentially we're looking at a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder here. Now, the market is also potentially putting in a quite significant squeeze like this. So relatively similar in terms of the S&P, a little bit more defined on this market. What I was looking for really were rejections or potential rejections up here, just to give a little bit of confirmation that we are starting to squeeze, and we've seen that coming into the end of the week on Friday. So moving into next week now, we're again similar to the S&P, we're looking at the squeeze levels. Really, this level up here remains key resistance. So 6801, 6759. Down below, depending on the day that we're testing at these levels, 6605 to 6565 would be strong support. Now down below there, we've kind of put in another little support level here. Let me just have a look at this. It is lining up with previous swing. But really, for me moving forward, this is more key. So I'm actually not even going to use this. Let's get rid of this. So key support, key resistance, especially if we're lining up with sloping support or sloping resistance. Again, if we see the market then breaking out, first of all, resistance at 6833, 6861, the pullbacks and potential support at what would then be sloping support, it's good to watch for. Breaks if we're breaking out, the pullbacks and the potential resistance at these levels. Squeeze level, it's being respected. If we see the breakout and the pullback, it tends to be an area where if we break down, the sellers look to step back in or the buyers look to step back in. If we are starting to break out of the squeeze on this market now, really, I then expect to start to see the stronger moves down. 6495, 6472. Especially because it's lining up with really 3 pretty significant rejection sells now. If we're breaking down below 6494, 6472, yeah, those previous lows. This whole section right here. Now this section right here is very key support. 6432, 6398. It's very key support. If we're failing there, certainly down towards 6342 to 6295, but moving forward, if we're breaking down below here, I would expect stronger moves down towards 6253 to 6225, which would then become key support once again. Up above this level right here at 6861, 6833, yeah, pretty strong resistance at present. If we're breaking up above, it's good to start looking for the bullish bounces from that level also, really up toward 6690, or sorry, 6890, but really I'd be expecting 6900 to be tested at a minimum, and really most likely back up toward where we start to get into stronger resistance at 6930. But at present we're still squeezing, and really we're just waiting to see how the market is going to react. In between, really looking at these levels as sort of the pivot, you know, up above, we're testing up at this resistance level. If we're breaking down below, we're coming down to test at support level. If we're below, looking for sales at these levels. If we're above, looking for the potential buys. 6716.4, 6676, 6650 to 6636. Okay guys, that's everything for the Nasdaq, and that's everything for this week. As always, I hope that was helpful. I hope you all have a great trading week next week. I'm James Orr, and thank you.